Short sales have started showing up again, but don't worry, our next guests are going to explain exactly what's going on. Here for the first time, please welcome short sales specialist Stephen Boykin and principal designer of Simply Stunning Spaces, Darcy Kempton.
All right, welcome to the show. Hello, thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you. Thanks for having us both. So, Steve, I want to start with you because short sales is something that has started to creep itself back into the San Diego marketplace. Not because values are down so much, values are up, but there are still places, pockets, where people bought and haven't quite recovered from the peak of the marketplace. So we're starting to see short sales come back, and you've got history as an asset manager, experience as an asset manager. We'll talk about that in a second, but you're also the short sale guy for Chris Heller's team, right?
Yes, I am. Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I want to thank Ryan and Darren, Pure Mortgage, for inviting me and being on the show.
Sure.
But yes, I was a short sale analyst and an asset manager for one of the major bank servicing companies. And then after they got bought out, all that, when the market crashed, stayed in real estate, and just recently started working with Chris Heller and his team, which has been in business for 20 plus years, was number one in San Diego. They had some short sales, and they were, something wasn't going on, and I said, hey, can I take over these short sales? And sure enough, got a lot of short sales approved within weeks, one of them specifically in like 4 days. So now, like you said, you kind of start seeing it. It's not like it was back in the day when the crash happened, but it's starting to pop up more and more. I think there's probably about 140 some short sales now active on the market. The NODs, the notice of defaults, are popping up even more and more. It's, yeah.
Okay, so only 140 on the market, so it makes up a very small percentage of the actual inventory.
Right.
But we're seeing it happen more and more. What's different about this time around? Last time it seemed like the banks weren't ready for the short sales. It was a huge cluster, and I think a lot of people may have had a bad experience. What can we expect this time around, assuming that it's not going to be to the degree it was last time, but what should we, based on your current experience?
Well, for one thing, the banks and the servicing companies and the investors who own the loans, when the market crashed last time, they had no clue, and they were a lot of them were just winging it pretty much. Now they have the experience. They're streamlined the process a lot more. Their guidelines are pretty strict. Not strict, but they have the guidelines that are pretty standard for short sales. They're just more prepared. And then, like someone like myself, who's been on both ends, working with the bank and working with clients, it's the process is a lot easier than it was before.
It's easier.
Yeah.
So it's more streamlined.
It can be, as long as the agent, person like myself, who knows what the bank wants, who knows what they do. I mean, like I said, with the guidelines, they have a number. They, strict guidelines on what they want, how much they're going to sell it for based on the BPO, broker's price opinion. But then there's other things that you can do. It's just how you relate with the bank.
So if someone out there is considering, so let's say they're upside down, or maybe they're right at flat, because if you add in the cost of sale, now you're upside down, right? So let's say I bought my house for $600, it's worth $600 today. I need to sell for a lot of reasons. I need a different place to live. I need to be in a different area. I need to be in a different school district, whatever it is. I need to sell my house. I don't want to rent it, don't want to be a landlord. What should I do? Like, what's the first step?
Well, the first thing is I think with the banks now, again, because they have been doing it, they know exactly what they want now. First thing, if it's an FHA loan, they'll try to do some kind of loan modification or a forbearance. But if it's something that, like, hey, I really want to do a short sale, there's options are, unfortunately, well, if you're moving within 50 miles, they can pretty much do a short sale. Obviously, what happens is you have to kind of go negative, like miss a payment. Mm-hmm. Once you miss a payment or two, then you show your financials and you send it to them, and you're like, hey, I just can't afford this home. That's when you would call myself. We'll create a hardship letter, reasons make sure the reasons are valid. Then we contact the bank. It's better to do that than as opposed to just calling the bank. I want to do a short sale. They're not going to really listen to you. Now, if they're like, well, let's see your credit report. Let's see all this stuff. It's better to go ahead and get everything together, get a hardship letter together, and then send it on.
Okay. So basically, first steps probably for someone, if they're considering it, maybe give you a call first and then just kind of say, hey, here's my situation.
Exactly.
What should I do next? Because it sounds like it'll be pretty dynamic depending upon what the person wants to do next.
Right. And I mean, like I was saying, usually you have to, miss a payment or two before they'll even consider a short sale. But there are certain circumstances, like if there's some medical issues. Again, if you're moving, if your job's transferring you, 50 miles away, there are some circumstances where that would work out. It just depends. But
okay. So you just need to be able to explain. It needs to make sense. At the end of the day, what's the bank looking for? They're looking for the greatest net, right? I mean.
Well, okay. So that's the part of the guidelines. There's a number. There's a percentage. If someone's doing a short sale, they've been, past due on their mortgage. They submit the package. The banks usually have, and the investors usually have a percentage that they want. That percentage, is pretty standard. But the circumstances could be different. Like even though, once you get a notice of default, usually it's 120 days for the foreclosure process, but sometimes that takes longer, whatever the circumstances. The bank will look at this. It is the net. And they have a system, most of them have these systems where they'll compare doing a foreclosure versus a short sale. And if they go through the whole process of the foreclosure, it's going to cost the bank a lot more money as opposed to doing the short sale. So that way, the short sale is better for the bank, which most of the time is.
Right. So I think a lot of people don't realize that. They feel bad about doing the short sale, but to the alternative, it's actually better for the bank. It's better for the neighborhood. It's better for everybody.
Everyone, absolutely, because once it goes into foreclosure, then the values are going to drop even more. And again, like I said, there's a percentage of what the bank wants based on the market value.
Okay. We'll just say, call Stephen if you have questions about this, because I think it's going to be too dynamic to try to generalize, oh, this is the right step, this is the right step. There's too many variables in the equation. So we'll just say call Stephen. But I'll tell you, this is the bright side of the coin, or the silver lining, if you will, is that if there are short sales happening, that usually means that there might be deals for buyers. Like there's a lot of buyers that are on the fence, or maybe they're even off the fence in the wrong direction. They're so sick of it. So buying a short sale, let's talk about that, because this is where Darcy can come in. Now, when you're buying a short sale, you might be getting a good deal, but what else might be kind of involved with that, Stephen?
Well, most of the short sales or foreclosed homes, the person's in default, they're really frustrated, the bank's not helping them, whatever the situation is. So most of the time, most short sales aren't in the best condition. So one, you'll get it at a good value because you're going to have to get it as is. The bank's not going to do any kind of repairs. They're not going to do anything.
No request for repairs.
Yeah, no request for repairs. They're not going to do that. So when you get it, when you're buying that home, you're getting it value, but then you're going to have to put some work into the home. But you're getting a good discount, but again, you just have to do some work to it, which is.
Darcy, can you make this homes pretty again?
Yeah, exactly. That's what we do. So, yeah, homeowners shouldn't be intimidated or, scared to take on a fixer-upper like that. It really can be a simple process, if you seek a little help from us. We've made it easy for homeowners, so it's not scary to hire a designer anymore. We have a design in a box, which is made exactly for this, for kind of like the DIY homeowner. So we kind of give them their 3D computer rendering and their whole design plan, like step by step, paint by numbers, can't mess it up. So you can feel pretty confident going into buying a short sale and, knowing that you kind of can see the potential of the home and then
cool.
The steps on how to make it happen.
How long does it take to get one of those renderings created?
We're at about 3 weeks right now. We try to stick to our 2-week timeline, but we're in the middle of opening a showroom, so we're pushed back.
And short sales are taking about how long, Stephen?
Yeah.
Well, if it's me, the short sale is going to take probably a couple weeks. If it's someone else, it'll probably take 3 to 6 months.
To get approved, but to
Yeah.
close,
Yeah.
right? It's still going to take a while, right?
Well,
Like
once
60
you get
days.
an approval from a bank for a short sale, then it's a normal process.
So like 60. Well, I guess the average days on market now is like 45 or something.
Right.
So let's call it, if you work with Stephen, maybe a couple months. So plenty of time.
Plenty of time. You could, have your design, order your materials, line up your crew, get your competitive bids, and, kind of line everything up so when you close, you can move in and get to work. And a project like that, depending, but, depends on the scope of work, but,
Of course, sure.
4 to 8 weeks.
But it's a solution. I mean, that's what we're doing here. We're talking about solutions, right? Whether you're upside down in your home and you're like, oh, do they still do short sales? Yeah, they do. You need to talk with an expert like Stephen, but yeah, they still do them. And then if I'm on the other side, it's always like to talk about both sides of the coin. I mean, there's buyers out there who are hearing these short sales, and if they're smart, I mean, what I hear is opportunity. When I hear there's homes that are being short sold. Yeah. Now, Stephen, I will say though, for buyers out there who might be contacting you thinking they can get the inside scoop, you have to go through a process, right, with the short sale listings where the buyer, the banks make you go through a certain way. Isn't there something like that you have to do?
So
rounds of
someone calls
offers?
me, they're looking and they say, I specifically want a short sale. There's something that we do. Obviously, me working with the other agent saying, hey, I'm an experienced short sale analyst, let me help with the process. That's number one. Most of the stuff that are short sales will be on the MLS. But what we do also is we have our team at the Chris Heller Group that we're called inside agents. And we look at all the notice of defaults. We look at, we'll make these calls to find these homes to make it easier. But it is a process. I mean, it's not like, hey, let's just pick up a short sale, whatever's out there. I mean, you still have to go through the steps. And if I'm not the one who's in control of it, I could at least help streamline it a little bit, make it a little bit easier for the client, for the buyers. For the buyers, for sure.
So use your expertise on the other side of it, basically.
Yeah, it's and it's a good thing because every agent that I pretty much have worked with when I'm representing a buyer and the seller agent was representing the short sale, they've been very good, I guess. What's the right word? They've been very cordial and professional. And,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to hear. So you can still contact Steve if you're a buyer, and then obviously you're going to need Darcy to help fix up the home a little bit, spruce it up, make it yours. Guys, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you very much for having us.
Appreciate your time.
Thank
It's
you.
fantastic. Stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else, commercial free.